in a gloomy, cloudy Charlotte, North Carolina this morning. What's up? LinkedIn, Twitter, X, Facebook, YouTube. Got another quick and dirty live for you. For those that don't know who I am, my name is Ren Jones. I'm a certified personal trainer, certified corrective exercise specialist. I'm also a certified nutrition coach, level 1 and 2, and I work specifically with women over 30 as a population. I've been doing this for about a decade. Specifically, my last few certifications were for menopause, working with women through the menopause spectrum. So I've been speaking on that a lot recently. I want to give you a quick and dirty live session because I got some information for you. I did a poll last week to figure out what type of live broadcast I should do this week. And in that poll, I gave 4 choices about where you may find the most confusion on your wellness journey, particularly if you're a woman over 40. A lot of my peers are. I'm 49 years old, rounding the corner to 50 in April. Shout out to the Aries out there. You know who you are. But in that poll, I gave a few choices. One of the choices was of sources of confusion was what's the right way to eat in this stage of life. I tackled that subject 2 days ago. Another poll response, the second highest response I got was, what's the right way to train? I talked about that yesterday. And the third highest response was, why am I gaining weight seemingly uncontrollably without changing anything with my diet and exercise? And that's the topic we're going to tackle this morning. Now, I'm not here to talk about weight loss methods necessarily. We talked about those things in the previous 2 live broadcasts. When this goes up, this live broadcast goes up, if you want that information from those other 2, just come back to this post on Instagram, come back to this post on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, etc., and say, hey, link me to the other 2 talks you did this week, and I'll be happy to tag you in them, if not, message you the link. But today, we want to talk about the reasons for that midlife weight gain that seems to happen almost overnight. I'm telling you, I have clients that'll tell me, like, I feel like I gained 20 pounds overnight. The purpose of this talk is not really to talk about whether or not you should lose weight. Not my business. As a man, not my business as a coach. I serve whatever my clients need. You ladies have your own autonomy and your own agency to decide what you feel is most appropriate journey for your body. I'm kind of fucking sick and tired of coaches going around telling people, you need to do this with your body. You need to do that with your body. That's not my jam. It's not my business. I'm here to support whatever your decisions are. I'm here to help you find the most optimal methodology to get to where you want to go, but it's nobody else's business what you do with your body. Nobody else's business. So get that out of the way. One more thing I got to get out of the way before we get into the information is I've got to pay the bills, because as a online certified personal trainer, this is all I do for a living, and I'm in my enrollment week. So I'm taking on 5 women over 30 who want to build their healthiest body, healthiest relationship with food without doing any calorie counting, no macronutrient counting. Nothing wrong with those methods if that's what you do, not judging. But that's not what we do in my program. They don't want to weigh or measure food, and they have the ability to work out 2 to 4 times a week for 30 to 45 minutes. If that sounds like something that you want to make a part of your life, if your goals are to find your way to better health, this might be a program for you. DM me the word live, Live. We'll have a short chat and we'll see if what I do might be a good fit for you. Let's get to the information. So I want to talk about the reasons for that midlife weight gain. To do that, I've got to sort of review a little bit of the information when it comes to the midlife transition, perimenopause to menopause to post. Perimenopause, early stages of menopause, transition. A lot of the times the challenge with perimenopause is that women don't know they're in perimenopause. A lot of the women that I'm able to coach had never heard of the term perimenopause until they found out that they were in perimenopause. This is the initial fluctuation of progesterone and estrogen in your body. It can be shown symptomatically by things like irregular periods, 7 to 10-ish day fluctuation. Sleeplessness, hot flashes or hot flushes, cold flashes or cold flushes. Typically, weight gain is a part of this situation. Achiness in the joints that just seems strange. Irritability, more so than usual, because I know that lady at work crazy, so she's been irritating you the whole time. Everybody got a crazy lady at work, a crazy dude at work. And if you don't have a crazy lady or crazy dude at work, you're the crazy lady or crazy dude at work. So call in sick today. Do us all a favor. We just started December. Let us get in the holiday mood. Take a day off. In any case, so those are the things that sort of mark perimenopause, and what we see are the greatest changes to body composition. Typically, the greatest amount of symptoms typically happen in the perimenopause phase. That is where things start to fluctuate. Menopause is technically a day. It's when you've gone 12 months without a menstrual cycle. That's menopause, and then everything after that is postmenopause. The other thing that we see is that a lot of the body fat accumulation that you might encounter happens, as Dr. Stacy Sims would say, somewhere around 4 years before actual day of menopause occurs. So it's sort of the back half of the perimenopausal phase where we start to see this weight gain. So let's talk about it. Let's talk about a few things that are happening. Again, it's not my goal here to give you any methodologies to lose that weight. We've done that already. I want to do my best to help you come to some understanding about what's going on. I think from the understanding of what's going on, naturally you'll start to develop some methodologies that might help. So the first thing that we want to consider is that it's not a function of your age necessarily, right? And when I say it's not a function of your age, that doesn't mean that age isn't involved. What I mean is the specific day, month, or year of your chronological age at any one point is not solely the reason why weight gain occurs. We know from recent studies that were sort of all the rage in 2023 and late 2022 that metabolism holds relatively steady from age 20 to age 60. So all of those years of our lives where we maybe heard, oh, once you hit 40 or once you hit 50, the metabolism slows down. Not true, right? From the science as we understand it, based on the research that's been done relatively recently, I think as recently as 2021, that's not a thing, right? And when the metabolic rate does slow metabolism down, generally speaking, it's less than a 1% reduction in overall metabolic rate. So it's not like you go from a body that normally would burn 2,500 calories and now it burns 800 calories a day. And if you eat anything over that, you gain a tremendous amount of weight. That's not the case. So the first thing is to realize that it's not a function solely of your age, the amount of time that you've been existing on the planet. So let's wipe that away. Now, that's a good news, bad news, right? Because the good news is you realize, okay, I'm not destined for these things to happen. The bad news is you realize that some of the responsibility is right here on these shoulders, right? It's not mine, by the way. Some of the responsibility is on our own shoulders. So what does happen as we age? That's a great question, because there are some things that happen. One of the most prevalent things is we just don't move as much, right? Your non-exercise activity, as we call it. This is all the stuff that you do that's not a dedicated workout. Things like dancing, right? Things like walking, things like going to the park, things like taking the steps instead of taking an elevator or an escalator. All these things have diminished because as a society, we get increasingly sedentary as we age, right? There were times in your probably 20s and maybe even 30s where you come home, maybe you change, you head out the door for some type of something, right? Maybe you went out with friends, or maybe you went shopping, and increasingly we sit more as we get older. That's one thing. That's one of the contributors that we know now that is sort of a co-conspirator in that midlife weight gain. For men too, I'm here to talk about women, but I don't want you guys, if you're listening, I don't want you to think that you're not a part of this. I'm just trying to be specific because there's tons of data and research for men out there. Almost all of it's about men. And we need to take a little time to make sure that women are centered more in these conversations and that they are centered more in the research that leads to the discussions that we have about these things. So it's not your metabolic rate, it's more likely your non-exercise activity. NEAT, non-exercise activity thermogenesis is what NEAT stands for. So you want to think about the ways that you can get more movement into your life that may not necessarily be a dedicated workout. So that's the first thing. The amount of movement that you're doing has been reduced. The second thing in this perimenopausal phase is that there is a distinct hormonal shift. And because of the hormonal shift, your body is predisposed to do a few things that would result in weight gain. So it's not specifically the hormones. And I want to dispel that myth because, again, I've been through 3 different certifications over the course of time about this. One through Girls Gone Strong. As always, shout out to Molly. Molly's a homie. One through MedFit organization, and one through Dr. Stacy Sims, Menopause 2.0. And what I learned in all of those courses, all that coursework, and the research papers that I've read, and the books that I've read on the subject, is that the hormonal shift itself is not a cause of weight gain. We know that because when women are getting menopause hormone therapy, previously called hormone replacement therapy, but women that are getting menopause hormone therapy are not experiencing weight loss because this is a dumb term, I'm going to use it, I think it illustrates a point, because they put back the hormones, right? Neither do they start to regain muscle. So the hormones themselves, if you could replace them, they do not, and you really can't, but you can do therapy. It's hormone therapy, not replacement. When that therapy occurs, the body fat reduction does not happen magically because now the hormones are quote unquote back. So that in and of itself is not a function of why menopause weight gain happens. Here's what will happen due to, most likely, every woman is wildly different, and menopause, perimenopause, postmenopause expresses itself wildly different through each individual woman's body. So I'm hesitant to categorize and generalize in this context because it's just not scientifically accurate, but I've got to find some way to give you decent information in a relatively short period of time. So forgive me for generalizing a bit here. So what's likely happening is, number one, when you've got that withdrawal or fluctuation in estrogen and progesterone, you also have a reduction in overall muscle, right? Part of this is due to sarcopenia, which starts relatively earlier in life, around 30s. So for the woman that does not strength train or exercise, naturally you're losing muscle over time. That muscle loss, we understand now, accelerates in the perimenopausal phase. So you're rapidly losing muscle. When you lose muscle, because muscle requires so much energy to function, when you lose that muscle, your body's not utilizing quite as much energy. Your metabolic rate will slow down because you have a lack of muscle. So now if you're still doing the things that you've always done in terms of your exercise and eating or movement in general, and you're not prioritizing exercise and nutrition that radically assists you in maintaining muscle, you're probably going to see a slowing down of your metabolic rate, not because you've aged, but because you've lost muscle. And that's probably going to lead to an increase in body fat, not because you're doing anything different, but because your metabolic rate is lower than it used to be. So that complication of those things intersecting can put you in a position where you see body fat gain. Another specifically challenging part here is that with the withdrawal of estrogen, it also puts you in a position where you may be more likely to accumulate body fat specifically in your midsection. So sometimes it's that you've increased body fat all over. A lot of the time, the challenge is that you start to notice body fat accumulation in an area where you don't normally historically experience body fat accumulating. And for a lot of women, again, every woman's absolutely different. For a lot of women, that unusual area seems to be abdominal fat. More dangerously, in some cases, the abdominal fat behind the abdominal wall, the intra-organ fat, we call it visceral fat, because that particular fat can contribute to some metabolic health issues. Another thing that happens that could lead to body fat accumulation in this point of your life is the fact that you are not quite insulin resistance, right? One of the things that we know that estrogen helps control is the blood sugar through insulin sensitivity. If you're not familiar with the term insulin resistance or insulin sensitivity, effectively, you want your body to be very sensitive to insulin because insulin will make sure that the sugars in your blood get out of your blood and get into the cells in your muscles, the cells in your body fat, and the cells and get into your liver, right? That's what's supposed to happen. So insulin is just riding out in the whip. It sees homies' blood sugar along the street, like, hey, homies, y'all want to ride? And they're like, where you going, homie? And insulin's like, we going into the muscles, fam. And they're like, all right, all good. In this phase, when you become a little bit more insulin resistant, it just means insulin has stopped riding out to pick up the homies and take them over to the muscle, right? That's problematic. And in that sense, you've got more circulating blood sugar in your bloodstream, probably going to lead to more body fat. People that have type 1 or type 2 diabetes understand the relationship between insulin and blood sugar and body fat. A lot of us that don't deal with it on a daily basis or maybe don't work in the science space don't really understand how that happens. So this is something else that estrogen makes more difficult. It makes it generally more difficult for your body to be responsive to insulin. So your insulin sensitivity drops and you start to experience more insulin resistance, right? The things that I talked about in the 2 previous live sessions yesterday and the day before about the strength training, about the nutritional intervention can help you deal with that insulin response. What else happens during this point of life that may lead to fat gain? Sleep disruption, hello, right? A lot of you ladies out there that are 40 plus, you know all about the challenges of sleep right now. Whether that be that you don't sleep as well, whether that be that night sweats or hot flashes or hot flushes, as they're more commonly called now, happen during the course of your sleep. That's challenging. Or whether it be your stress response. So with sleep, you could have a partner that sucks the paint off the walls at night, just snores uncontrollably, that disturbs your sleep. With sleep, again, you could have the hot flushes or hot flashes, having a cooling pad on your bed, keeping your room a cool temperature, having silk and or sort of satin cooling pajamas or an extra set of pajamas beside the bed might help attenuate that. Whether it is that you have the night sweats, whether it is that you are just stressed and in your sleep you're disturbed by the stresses of the day. Look, a lot of women at this point in their life are in the sandwich generation gap, right? You've got kids that you care for, that you're concerned about at all times. You may have a little teenager in your home that's an asshole that you need to snatch a knot in from time to time, right? Or they could be away at college. Your heartbeat is outside of your chest, outside of your house, and possibly now outside of your city. The stress of having the most responsibility that you've ever had in your occupation. Notice I didn't say the most pay, another stressor, right? The stress of being in maybe a valley position in your relationship. You guys are going strong, but the honeymoon's over. The golden years haven't started. The stress of stress, right? And that can disrupt your sleep. Well, guess what happens if your sleep is disrupted? Your hormone signaling for hunger and satiety get thrown off, right? You get a little bit more snacky during the course of the day. you make worse decisions about what you should eat because of the already existing brain fog due to the perimenopause to menopause spectrum, because of the hunger that you feel, because you've got dysregulation from lacking sleep. Chronic sleep issues typically lead to chronic nutritional choices that aren't in your best interest. So all of those things can also contribute to the menopausal weight gain that you might be likely to experience. What else happens during this time of life? Well, you may be generally a woman that spent most of her exercising years doing cardiovascular based conditioning. Nothing wrong with that. I love that you're moving. So let's get that out of the way. If you're getting off the couch and doing things to get your heart rate up and moving, I love it. What we understand about this phase, though, is that muscle becomes so much more crucial to your overall metabolic health, right? Strength training becomes so much more crucial to your overall metabolic health. And if that's something that you haven't done over the course of time, it's not your jam, it's not a normal part of your exercise wheelhouse, then you're going to have to change, right? Some things are going to have to shift. We talked about it in the exercise portion, but if there's any one thing that I really wish I could say to women from 25 to 35, it would be, as my friend Deanna Harder said, who's an amazing coach online. Go follow Coach Deanna Harder. As she said on one of my podcasts, if I could go back, I would put on as much muscle as I possibly could. Because ladies, 25 to 35, at age 30 is when that muscle starts to slip from your body, from your being. You start to lose that muscle. What would have been ideal at that point, and it's never too late. So if you're above these ages, if you're in the menopause years, it's absolutely okay to start now. But one thing that would have ensured you against a lot of the challenges that women may experience in this time of life is if you had really gotten into the strength training. Because diet culture confused most of us and most of you into prioritizing fat loss over muscle gain. The trick here is muscle gain typically leads to fat loss, but fat loss does not typically lead to ensuring your metabolic rate over time, because unfortunately, a lot of people do batshit crazy things to lose fat, to get down to a little number on that 3-digit devil's box under your feet. So I digress. You'll want to start to incorporate strength training. That needs to be a part of what you do every day. So a few things, quick recap. What are the things that may lead to excess weight gain during the menopause transition? Number one, we've just slowed down physically with movement generally, right? We've just gotten more sedentary. You may not feel like it, right? You may not notice it, but really give some thought to it and think about how much you sit possibly for work. Not everybody does. How much you sit on the commute from work to home, and how much you might sit when you get home. That may be one of the contributing factors. It's not your age though. Also, we've got the withdrawal of muscle over time, right? Usually starts at age 30, get into the perimenopause phase of the menopause spectrum, and that number just shoots up. It skyrockets. So the loss of muscle over time that's going to slow the metabolism, because muscle requires a lot of energy to maintain. And when you start to lose muscle, the body will start to accumulate fat due to the lower metabolic rate. Also got the insulin conundrum, right? We know that as estrogen withdraws, insulin sensitivity goes down. We want to be sensitive to insulin to get the sugars out of our blood and into the tissue where they can be used for energy. So that's another complicating factor. The sleep factor, not sleeping well, your body really sets up muscle building and fat burning while we're in deep sleep state. So the absence of sleep causes an issue there. It also causes an issue in terms of your nutritional choices, but because your appetite becomes dysregulated when you don't sleep well chronically. Leptin, which is the hormone that signals that you've had enough to eat, starts to dip. Ghrelin, which is the hormone that signals you to eat, starts to rise. When sleep is dysregulated over time, you're going to eat more. And there's one thing that I didn't mention that I came across in a study and a post that was on Instagram. I'm going to go back and research and study a little bit more. But an increase in hunger, right? And some of the theory, some of the hypotheses surrounding this study, and I've got to find it. I don't usually cite anything that I don't have access to or can't point you to. But some of what's mentioned in the context of that idea is that hunger increases because your body, during the menopause spectrum, because your body knows it needs more protein. And customarily, what the choice might be when the hunger hits are things that are not protein, right? I know anecdotally through research that my clients who ingest more protein during the day report to me that they're less hungry during the day and less likely to snack. When they're getting adequate protein throughout the course of the day at 3 to 5 regular meals or 3 meals and 2 snacks, however you want to label it, when they're getting protein throughout the day, they report that they don't have a craving for that something sweet after dinner. They report that they don't feel the need to snack during the course of the day, tackle that vending machine at work. So I'm sort of looking for more research about this. But if you're feeling particularly hungry, one thing that I can say, ladies, is if you're able to satisfy that hunger with some type of protein snack, you may find that you dissipate those sugar cravings reduce that you may be experiencing. Because I know a lot of times you try to white knuckle your way through things, you try to discipline your way through things, and when it's between your physical body requiring something that it needs and discipline, biology is going to win that 9 times out of 10, right? Biology is going to take over and win that. So I don't want to keep you too long. I hope that's informative. We can dig more into the specifics. Text me, message me, email, comment when this post goes up. Got to pay the bills one more time. Almost forgot. I'm currently enrolling no more than 5 women over 30 who want to build their healthiest relationship with their body, build their healthiest body, and do that without counting calories, without counting macronutrients, without doing algebra every time you want to eat, and without weighing food or measuring food. I teach a habit-based system for nutrition as a level 1 and 2 nutrition coach. And for the women that are in the perimenopause to postmenopause spectrum, my 15-week signature program is for you. And we dial in your training and your exercise so that we don't have you exercising so much. We fit the exercise into the time you actually have, and we base the exercise routine on evidence-based science that's been research done on women, specifically women in the menopause spectrum. I have 3 different certifications as a trainer and nutrition coach that are all specifically about menopause. DM me the word live, LIVE. We'll have a quick chat in the DM. We'll see if the programs that I built are right for you, and we'll take it from there. I'll be back. Yes, I'll be back on a Saturday morning with another live broadcast. I haven't decided what yet. So if you got some ideas for a live broadcast, DM me that too. I'm happy to talk topically about whatever you might need. By the way, happy December. Made it to December 1st. I don't get into the New Year's thing, or you should start. That's none of my business. But I hope you're having a great December so far. December came in on a Friday. We love you, December. I'll talk to you soon. Until next time, let's keep it simple. You're welcome, Celeste.